You hear J.R. snickering over here, and he's snickering because I've asked him to stick around for a little bit, and because he is going to be able to comment on this upcoming topic better than I.
We'll see.
And if Brian Stone was here, I mean, he is Mr. Baseball as well.
Yes,
he would probably be able to join in as well. Let me introduce my guest in the studio, Janet Johns. Good morning, as always. Good to see you.
Good morning. It's been too long.
It has been too long. I'm going to go ahead and say this. With you present, I've said it with you absent, you guys had the big concert with Here Come the Mummies, and it was a success by all.
You guys meaning?
The Engel Foundation.
Right. It was awesome.
And they put on a great show. I questioned it. My friend Bob Payne is the single, maybe other than Kevin West, the biggest Mummies fan in the world. And I was thinking baseball, apple pie, hot dogs, Here Come the Mummies. Okay.
At Engel Stadium?
Yeah, it wasn't really gelling as much with me. My youngest son, who doesn't go out to see as much live music. See, I took my boys to see a lot of live music when they were young, so therefore, of course, they rebel against me, and they're not fans of live music. They don't go to a lot of it. Actually, he's going to Bonnaroo today, so maybe that changed him. He loved it. He loved it. But here's what I wanted to say is that I think all of us, and you and I talked about it. When you first started talking about it, I said, you are possibly tilting at a windmill here. I said, good luck. I know a lot of people have talked about it. We discussed it so many times. But by gosh, y'all have come a long way.
Oh, and I can't wait for people to come out on Sunday and Monday and see how far this ballpark has come. I mean, it looks so much better.
Let me fill in the blanks. All-Star Game, Home Run Derby, coming up for the Southern League All-Star Game.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's the All-Star Game coming in, and that's where they're going to have it out there, of course, with the Home Run Derby. And that's just nothing but fun. That's like a dunking contest. You know, I mean, just give the people what they want. And what they want is towering, massive hits, you know. And
big old ballpark now.
Longest center field in baseball.
Better pull it.
Yeah, I was going to say, you better smack it good. But my hat's off to you, seriously, because y'all have been able to pull together the right people, and I actually see now hope, where I really saw very little, and a lot of that, I mean, came from Frank Burke. I mean, he would talk about the heartbreak of having to step away from it, and having to be honest and think, I just don't know that it can be salvaged, but y'all seem to be getting closer and closer and closer.
We have come a long way. We've got a terrific board. We've got some good support from sponsors, from UTC. I mean, everybody's pulling for this ballpark, and that's what's going to make the difference.
Well, right now, here's the deal. I'm going to let you do a quick set it up for me, and then we'll get our guest by phone on with us,
Okay.
Trapper Haskins. Trapper's a name that he uses, his nom de plume, nom de guerre, his stage name. And the stage, I guess, we're talking about is?
On Sunday, we are hosting at Engel Stadium Chattanooga's first vintage baseball game. And believe it or not, Tennessee has a vintage baseball association. Started a couple of years ago. It has taken off like wildfire in Nashville and in Knoxville. There's 8 teams around the state, and they're hoping to expand. And, of course, we're hoping they will expand into Chattanooga. So that's what we're lobbying for. But Sunday's event is going to be perfect for Father's Day. They're going to play 2 matches. That's the term for games.
That was the
That's
term
right.
that was originally used, like cricket.
Right. So there's 2 matches on Sunday, one at noon, one at 2:30. They're free. And Sticky Fingers is going to be there with concessions. And
serious concession.
Yeah. It'll be good food, beer, wine. It'll be a good time for everybody.
Now
It's a cash only, right? Because last time at the Opera it was cash only.
Probably so. You know, we've come a long way at Engel, but we still have some infrastructure to work on.
Yeah, well, yeah, I was going to say, I like cash.
Yeah, cash is
my
good.
Friend. Now, our guest by phone, Trapper Haskins. Trapper, good morning to you. How you doing, sir?
Good morning. I'm doing fantastic.
Describe, if you would, in your words, exactly what it is that you do and what it is that you're involved in.
Yeah, the difference between baseball as we know it in this day and age on ESPN or whatever, and what we're talking about, vintage baseball.
And Janet kind of winced when I said stage name. I hope that that's kind of the way I look at it, because it's kind of like the Globetrotters is to basketball, kind of what you guys are to baseball, maybe.
No, not at all. It's part of vintage baseball tradition going back to the early or mid-1800s when the ball players would all play under a nickname. So, and actually it was kind of funny you were talking about the concession being Sticky Fingers. One of our players, his nickname is Sticky Fingers. So my first thought was, oh, goodness gracious, he's going to play and cater this thing, huh?
Fantastic. Well, you know what? I mean, I tell you what. That Memphis Dry rub, you watch it, it'll be behind somebody's ear, and next thing you know, they got a little extra abrasion there. Well, that slider comes in there like nobody's business.
Well, in a nutshell, what we do, we play, it's barehanded Civil War era baseball. We play baseball by the 1864 rule book. And you had asked how it compares to what's on ESPN nowadays. You would recognize this baseball. It's the same sport at its core. There's 9 men, 9 innings, 90 feet between the bases, 3 strikes, 3 outs. All of those things still apply, but we wear uniforms that would have been appropriate back in the 1860s. And as far as the rule differences, there are a few subtle differences. Some of them not so subtle. One of them being that we don't wear gloves. I was
going to say. I mean, this is not just Throwback Uniform Day. This is everything, and continue on, because my very first question was going to be the rules. No, actually, they're hilarious. The rules changes. I mean, it's amazing what
or the
used
rule lack
to be
of changes.
Violations, things that stuck and things that didn't. But the glove,
it's just like modern sports today, where the governing body will get together every winter and sort of review the rules. They still to this day make rule changes in the NFL and in Major League Baseball, and they did so back in the 1800s when our national pastime was in its infancy. In fact, we play 1864 for the very reason that in 1865 they took away one of the other quintessential vintage rules, which is you can catch the ball, a fielder can catch the ball on one bound and the batter is still out. In other words, if you crack a nice long shot to the gap, if an outfielder can get to it before it hits the ground 2 times, you're out. So they took that rule away in the 1865, and you had to catch it on the fly.
Oh, Baltimore hop.
It's like tennis.
Yeah, the Baltimore hop over the second baseman's head wouldn't be in play anymore. That's
like
no
wall
good.
ball.
And wait, it's not a batter; it's a striker, right?
Right, the striker. Yes, ma'am.
So y'all stick with that. Y'all are serious about it. Y'all, and striker, that's cricket again.
It's different vocabulary. I mean, this is living history, basically.
Exactly,
They're not just wearing old uniforms. Yeah.
This is not just it's not just Throwback Uniform Day. We like to say, between the lines, it's 1864, and that goes one for the rules, but it also carries over into the vocabulary we use, and it also carries over into just the attitude that's brought to the field. In the 1860s, our sport was still completely amateur, and we did not have. Let's see. So some of the things that we would not do. We're never going to yell at the umpire or the arbiter as in the 1860s. So we're not going to yell at the arbiter. Right. We don't like
JR's he's blue. He's got 6 or 7 different jobs. One of them is he umps games, and
I've umped Christian leagues where they said they wouldn't yell at the umpire, and they lied because they did. Yeah.
Well, you get fined for ungentlemanly behavior. So
exactly, and that was the point I was driving at. Is that it's not just the rules that are different. It's just the sort of the attitude and the ambiance on the field is a more genteel form of playing sport. If I'm playing first base and somebody gets a really good hit, when they get to first base, I shake their hand and I tell them well struck. And I think the fans respond to that because they're, if you want to go see, and there's a place for it. If you want to go see professional sports or people getting overly competitive, there are 1,000 outlets for that, and we feel like we provide something that you can bring the whole family to. You're not going to hear any cursing, or one of our posters actually says no spitting, no swearing, no gloves. So that's sort of what we do.
Let me stop right there. That's just for a second. We'll go to a commercial break in a second, and JR, you can hang out as long as you can. But I'm fascinated. No gloves. Let's just start right with that.
Okay.
Well, the baseball's not as hard.
I was going to say, how in the world? I mean, how can you do that? I mean, I played baseball, and I can still remember the feeling of the sting. When you caught a line drive, or I mean, somebody really whipped one, and you didn't get it in the web. You caught it right there in the palm of your hand.
Exactly.
I mean, on a cold day, especially. My gosh.
Well, the ball, it is a slightly different ball, but
I would not tell you that it's a soft ball. It's not one of those spongy type balls today. It's got a little more give, but not a whole lot. Now, part of the reason when you tried to catch one when you were younger in your glove and it missed the web and caught the palm of your hand and it kind of stings, you didn't move your hand because you're expecting the web to catch the ball.
Yeah.
Now, when we catch the ball, there's kind of a different motion. Imagine somebody threw an egg at you and you didn't want it to break. You would bring your hands back as you caught it.
It's like highlight all of a sudden. I'm swinging.
You're going to kind of cushion the ball a little bit. Now, but one point about the rules, it was not against the rules to wear a glove in the 1860s. They simply did not exist. They had not been invented yet. The pitch is delivered underhand, so the catcher's not, he's not catching a 95-mile-an-hour fastball. It's an underhanded pitch. But even the catcher didn't have a glove back in the day because they weren't around. And the first guys who started wearing gloves would have probably been first base because the ball was kind of whipped over there. But
and the catcher.
That being said, and the catcher. But when those guys started wearing gloves, they were sort of chided for being unmanly, sissies.
Now that's the perfect place to stop. On so many levels you don't understand. Trapper, I'm going to get you to hang on if you would. Don't go anywhere, and we're going to come back. 1026. Fred the Show. 6,000 big old watts of talk radio power. 6,000 is not very many watts, but we make them work hard. And we try to keep them, gentlemanly and keep in mind the spirit of the game, the spirit of the watts. It's not the size of the watts in the fight. It's the size of the fight in the watts.
What?
All right. We've got Trapper Haskins on the line with us. He is a vintage... old school Civil War. I think that describes it perfectly. Civil War era baseball. Sure. I mean, would it be a kind of reenactor? Would that be an appropriate term?
Absolutely, yeah. I think we've got we've got as much in common with the Civil War reenactors as we do athletes. But I like to tell people that what we do is very similar to Civil War reenactment. The one main difference is we don't know who's going to win when we step onto the field. So.
Yeah. Now, and the thing is, I mean, this is not rigged. This is not a show. Mm-hmm. Y'all go and play. How many teams are we talking about here?
So we started out last year with 2. There was the Nashville Maroons, which was an actual team. If we any of the new teams that we've formed, we try to base them on an existing team. So the Nashville Maroons, which is a reestablishment of a team from 1866, played last year, and the Franklin Farriers. Those were our first 2 teams last year, and the idea was to build enough interest to sort of possibly double. We thought we might have 4 teams this year. We got enough people signed up on our interest list from across the state to expand to 6 teams in the mid-state.
Wow.
And we have 2 teams in East Tennessee, one in Knoxville and one in Roane County. So there's a total of 8 teams playing in the state right now. And this sport, it's got a lot of momentum. It's pretty big in the Midwest and in the Northeast, but in the South, there's really not a whole lot as far as vintage baseball. So we were excited to be the first association, the first 2 teams to form in the South.
Pioneers. Now,
right.
Go ahead, please.
I was just going to say, so on Sunday we have the Oak Hill Travelers, the Franklin Farriers, the Highland Rim Distillers, and the Nashville Maroons. Those are the 4 teams
Highland
that are
Rim Distillers.
Yes, and they are coming down.
Let me guess. They were of Scotch descent, I bet you.
Well, these are the teams that are traveling to Chattanooga to play for us, and we're so grateful because, all the players involved in the game, they do it for the love of the game. All their games are free. And
no 7-figure salaries out there?
No, I don't believe so. In fact, I think the players actually play to be in the association.
No free agency. Nobody's dating Madonna. None of that.
No agents.
Real quick, JR. You've had a glance, and obviously you know the history of a glance at the rules there. Sure. as they play Civil War.
Interesting.
And be aware of this for those who don't know. I'd advise the Ken Burns baseball, miniseries was great. It wasn't the Civil War, but it was darn good. But it was the Civil War that made baseball America's sport. It was the thing that they could do, when they weren't fighting. Right. And even in the POW camps, they would even square off.
Correct.
I mean, the POWs versus their captors. I mean, it was the American pastime more and more and more all the time. The biggest difference in the rules that you see, and I mean, the real base.
Well, the gloves. I mean, that, to me, and catching it on the hop, and that guy's still out, so that's pretty interesting stuff. The quintessential old stadium making it is Birmingham, Rickwood Stadium in Birmingham. My question would be, how does Rickwood do it? And I know they have the Rickwood Classic where Southern League teams go there and they play a series or a game or two or whatever it is, but they keep on going strong. And I don't know how you model everything after what Rickwood does in Birmingham, but Rickwood and Birmingham and Engel and Chattanooga are basically the same type of thing.
Twins.
Yeah.
There are some differences.
Yeah.
In Birmingham, the city helps subsidize
Gotcha.
Rickwood, as does the school system. And honestly, we're not looking at that as a solution for us. So that forces us to think differently about ways to utilize the ballpark. And as far as we know, they don't play vintage baseball in Rickwood, for example. So this is not only a good thing for Chattanooga, it's a way to demonstrate that we can be creative with Engel Stadium.
Here's what I would say: finding a niche. Finding a niche. I mean, if there's things out there that Engel Stadium could be used for, you find a niche. It's got a little panache, gets a little popular, whatever it is. Then you have something scheduled on a regular basis, and that seems to make sense to me.
Well, I was going to say, and then this is what it was designed for. And Trapper, okay, so you've only had a couple of years to really get this going, and so far, I mean, you'll know that you've arrived when CBS Sunday Morning sends somebody out to do something on you, and now you're going to be getting some attention. So write that one down. Jot that one down.
Yep.
I got a contact number for you. But I mean, who is there a dominant team? Is there a team out there that is the Yankees or the Dodgers or anything of that sort?
Well, the Nashville Maroons are the defending champion. There were only two teams last year, but they had an 8-3 record. So we, the Franklin Farriers, had the opposite of that. We had a 3-8 record. But we're pretty well matched. We're 4 games into the season, and everybody's within a game or two of one another. Actually, we have the standings are on our website, TennesseeVintageBaseball.com, and you can see the standings of the 8 teams. But we're all really looking forward to coming down and playing at Historic Engel. The places that we try and play our games, most of our teams' home fields are at Civil War venues or city parks. We generally don't play the kind of places where men's league softball plays. We like to put the game in a historic setting.
So you don't want to go to the rec field. You want to go to a place where. By the way, what was that? Give me that website one more time, please.
TennesseeVintageBaseball.com.
All right, so the proper name is Vintage Baseball. And by the way, if you were wondering what some of that jibber jab was going on, the hour right before me, there was some talk about euphemisms and epithets that are used, and you're right on the border there with the Bugs Bunny maroon thing, and farriers, which was kind of almost in play there too. So we're really following a constant line today. We're being consistent, and that's great. But the crowds, I mean, is this just a novelty thing? Do they come out once and say they did it, or do you actually see fans?
I don't think so. We were last year curious to see the same thing, if people would come out and see it as just a novel event and a one-off thing. But we've got people following our Twitter feeds that tell us they're going to come out. I see the same faces out there week in and week out, and they're not small crowds. It depends on which venue we play at, but we regularly get 150, 200 people. Our largest crowd has probably been Bicentennial Mall, downtown Nashville. We play right in the shadow of the state capitol, and we've had 350, 400 people come out and sit in the shade of the trees there and take in a game, and we get people. They make signs. They'll buy the Farriers or the Maroons T-shirts and wear.
There's going to be a Susan Sarandon type out there somewhere.
At Rickwood in Birmingham, when they have the vintage when they have games there, the people dress when they come to see dress in the period clothes. And I could see that.
Oh, that's cool.
Just being cool if you bring a picnic basket or
Right. They did that when the county courthouse when they reopened after the remodel. Everybody.
We do have a few of those. There's Franklin, Tennessee's very steeped in its Civil War history, and the Franklin team plays at Carton Plantation. And there's we probably get about a dozen Civil War reenactors or women in hoop dresses that come
Most
out.
of my wardrobe probably would fit, actually. Now,
That's pretty nice.
Nathan, who, by the way, has the look.
Yeah.
He and Cowboy Joe are the Sport Talk producer. They could go out and play today and have the look, no doubt.
Absolutely.
You got a question?
Yeah, you mentioned T-shirts. What other merch do you have?
We sell the balls at the game, the vintage baseball. It's got a different stitching pattern to it. It's called a lemon peel ball. And, you would look at it and you would recognize it as a baseball, but something just looks amiss about it. The stitching is a little different. It's slightly larger. So we have those for sale at the game. We have T-shirts. And that's pretty much it. As far as the food and stuff, we let the venues that we play at, like Engel, will be taking care of this. We have the national team plays right next to the farmers market, and then we have food trucks come out to the other events. So we sort of minimize the amount of merchandise and maximize the amount of baseball.
I remember.
I think that could be a winner, though.
Oh yeah, at some point there definitely I think you could find the right look, the right logo, and the right thing. I remember as a kid just always. Going to visit older folks. My mom or my grandmom would be going to visit somebody, and all these old Southern Gothic homes. They always had these crazy little rooms, and even a little. This is very popular in the South. The small staircases, the back of closets and things that would go. It goes back to the days of the Underground Railroad and stuff. I would find baseballs that were really funky looking, and I always assumed that they had just been left out in the rain or something. And now I'm beginning to think they probably actually were really, really vintage baseballs. And I just didn't know as a kid. I just thought, well, this is no good. I can't do anything with this. But now I really do wonder.
$1 million ball out.
Yeah, I was going to say, guy, probably was signed by some famous player. In the era, the 1864. I mean, are there names that you could call out that we would recognize, or is that just too far back and just too removed?
Do you mean as far as the position players or
no, the actual names of individuals? Just the Babe Ruths. I mean, most of us can go back to that era and before.
It's before professional baseball.
So
really.
The professional era really came into being probably in the 1869. It would have been the 1869 Cincinnati Red Sox,
right.
I think, were the first professional team. That being said, there was some underhanded professionalism starting, in the mid 1860s. You'd have somebody in a certain city offer somebody a cush job just to come and play for their team in that city. But largely these were amateur teams. In fact, I think taking a salary or taking pay is prohibited in the rules too. It was entirely entirely an amateur sport.
Wow.
So that would have been 1869 when they introduced money to the sport, and you introduce money to things, and the whole dynamic changes.
I've got a local fun fact. The Tennessee State Convention of Baseball Players, and back then baseball was 2 words, it was held in Chattanooga on May 3rd, 1867, and the Mountain City Club of Chattanooga was proclaimed through parliamentary procedure the champion club of the state. So see, we've got to live up to our heritage.
The Mountain City Club, which still exists today.
In a different form.
Yes, exactly.
Slightly. But then obviously, Trapper, you're more than aware of the history of Engel Stadium and the place that it holds in baseball history. It really is an amazing thing. Janet was just saying that they, at the Engel Foundation, they do have the WWJD. What would Joe do? What would Joe do?
That's how we make decisions.
I mean,
Joe would love this.
When I moved here, I would hear certain names bandied about quite a bit, and Joe Engel was one of them.
Sure.
And then the Bookie Turner was another one, a crooked sheriff. So but they were all over the place, a mayor. But I am fascinated. But the no cursing, no spitting, no ungentlemanly conduct. Just other things of that nature.
Well, and my favorite is that the pitcher, instead of the pitcher's job was to pitch a ball that was hittable.
They wanted them to hit it. They wanted to put it into play.
Back to coach pitch.
Yeah, but you wanted him to put it into play so people would have something to say.
Yeah, very
exactly.
much so. In fact,
that's
we've got games where if the pitcher's not delivering something that the batter is swinging at, the pitcher will then ask the batter, show me where you want it. You want
throw
it
a more
high or
hittable
low.
ball.
So that was the idea. But yeah, it's we're super excited to come down there. Chattanooga's got a rich baseball history. Jana mentioned the Mountain City Club, and the Lookouts go back to the mid 1860s, and then there was another the Lightfoot baseball club in the 1860s as well. So there's a rich baseball history there, and we're excited to get down there and
the bat.
relive it.
Real quick before we let you, let me look at is the bat distinctly different, or is it
They're
not really.
going to look a little different just because they were personalized back in the day. They would have had stripes painted on them just for decorative purposes. The rule book states that they can't exceed 2.5 inches in diameter. Now, a modern day bat is going to be 2 3/4 inches. So they're not much different. They're slightly narrower bat. And the other thing you'll see is they're
good Lord! Look at the knob. Look at the bunny knob at this one right here. I mean, that thing. That's a deadly weapon on either end. I mean, and some of them do look like cricket bats.
This was at a time when they were sort of experimenting what would have been the best bat shape. You step on a baseball field today, and there's just the ubiquitous baseball bat. They all look virtually the same.
Have to.
And back in the 1860s, they were sort of still trying to find what was the most effective bat to use. So you'll see a lot of different knob shapes and lengths and stuff like that.
All right, well, Trapper, I appreciate you joining us today, and again, for those interested in possibly just learning more about it, maybe even get up a team here in Chattanooga.
We would love that. It's up to the association, but they do have a great website. And better yet, come out to Engel Stadium on Sunday afternoon. First match is at noon. Second is at 2:30. It's free. It's a perfect Father's Day event for the whole family.
And I'm assuming, Trapper, that you did not get your nickname the same way Trapper John did in MASH.
I don't know how he got it, but I was born around the same era.
it wasn't a happy story for somebody. All right, thank you, sir. I appreciate it very much.
Thank you guys very much. I've enjoyed it.
Jana, you guys are doing a great job. And that's Sunday, Father's Day, and you can still do the market, too. No competition there.
That's right.
All right, Jared, thank you for sticking around.
That sounds interesting.
I think it sounds very intriguing. Yeah, I really, really do.